Hello there, my beautiful and lovely gamers. My name is Jonal. Today we are doing some coaching here on YouTube. So if you're interested in yourself getting coached, you can go on to help on our Discord server, which I will link down in the description, and submit your VOD there. And if you're lucky, you will get on here and hopefully get some help. Now, I'm executing this a little bit as the same format as I would do if I was private coaching. Only difference is, of course, I don't have anyone to talk to. So we can't communicate two ways. I don't have a form on this player. Normally I send a form that people can fill out and so on. I'm only going to take half the VOD just to make sure, because normally the private coach session, the coaching itself where we sit and talk and stuff like that, that's sort of like way over an hour and no one wants to watch that. So it's only going to be half of this anyway. So if you're interested in actually receiving private coaching, I'm doing a special, summer edition or whatever, since I have a lot of free time now in my summer break, where I'll sell a standard session normally costs 50 euros, and I'll sell it for 40 euros your very first, give you a 10 euro discount. So if you're interested, no matter if you're a top 500 player, a bronze player, if you play on a team, or if you are a team and you want to improve there, or you just want to improve in your ELO rank games and rank up a little bit, then you can hit me up on Discord or on Twitter, both of those are linked in the description. And yes, I do any role, any hero, and also on either console or on PC. It doesn't really matter to me. Now, I like to start my coaching by reading my overall notes, which means these are your overall mistakes, and then we can, to a certain extent together, take a little bit look at what this Ana is doing wrong. This is, of course, a silver Ana player. It's King's Row defense. It's a fine map to play Ana on, I suppose, but especially at silver, so there's certain stuff that normally coaches would expect and won't expect. I'm still expecting very high things of you, and I'm not going to hold back any information that I think that you can know just because you're in low rank. I'm just going to point that out. Now, bad positioning, of course, as we all expected, especially you're playing maybe a little bit too far forward, a little bit further back, especially you're exposing yourself a lot for shots, and you're very killable, making yourself a little bit harder to get, also granting yourself a little bit more overview. It's what I would like to see here. You need to learn how to quickscope. This takes time. I would like you to work steadily on that. You can go into practice range, start like quick scoping on bots and stuff like that. I also made a video on it myself. I think I called it How to Quick Scope. I think you can search it up on my YouTube. It's very easy for Anas because it's an easy way to get that hit scan shot, which is much easier to aim on range without making you stand still. Because if you stand still, even in low elos, it's very easy to headshot you with a Widow, or for a Tracer that's close to one mag you, or stick you with a pulse bomb with the game to kill you, etc. Right? It's very easy to hit you because you're practically standing still. You're bad decision making / you have very low APM, meaning action per minute, which is one of the most important things for support. Getting high APM, doing that you know when to heal your team, when to take care of yourself, and when to gather information about what's going on so you can make these decisions, and also when to DPS the team, and doing all of these kind of things as rapidly, always doing them like, okay, now there's like a second or two downtime, I can do like 1-2 shots here, then I need to heal, I need to reposition myself, but while I do that, I can heal this guy, or I can DPS over here, or etc. Right? You also rarely use Nano, which is not that good. When you use it, it's actually fairly decent. Just with a Nano boost, a lot of time you could use it a little bit more, not wasted, of course, but making sure that you actually get some value out of it, since it builds very fast, and it's not like Transcendence that's a very like valuable must-hold ultimates. You also have very good aim for someone in silver, like incredibly good aim for someone in silver. I would call this almost like platinum to diamond aim, even though you aim maybe a little bit too much with your crosshair and not enough with your eyes. That's fine. That's just something that you will learn later on. So just continue to aim like you do and improve. You have better cooldown management than the average silver player. I would again say that this might be like, again, gold to platinum ability management almost, at least low platinum. But it's still, a waste, especially if sleep that you throw them out a little bit too much. Just getting that will hopefully improve you a lot on Ana. Bad ammo management. You don't reload when you can, and when you absolutely should start reloading. So there are bigger chance for you getting caught mid-reload when your team actually needs healing, or you need to defend yourself, which is kind of bad. And you miss a lot of nades. You waste sleep darts, you hit a lot of them, but especially your biotic nades, you miss. So let's take a look at this from the beginning here. Now I have my drawing tool up. I have also my map tool up in case we need to take a look and some stuff like that. Coming in here, first thing you do is to miss the very first shot. Very good start. He dies. There's actually nothing you really can do about it. It's bad positioning. He gets headshotted. Doesn't matter. You miss the shots, which is something, but whatever. Yeah, nothing really here. You saw the tracer. Again, this is about, I think, a very low sensitivity, because you can see that you're very slow at reacting. When the tracer blinks past here, you can see that you use, the tracer's going to blink here, right? 49, 50, 51, 52, 53. Now you can heal, right? So you use like 3-4 seconds checking that tracer. You should just have seen, okay, back, right? Little bit, again, slow reaction time, slow APM, actions. Your mouse movement is very slow, but that's fine. You come in here, you toss the nade in to make sure it doesn't die. It's fine. Then you're gonna do this. There's a couple of mistakes already done here. First of all, again, you peek the Widowmaker, which you don't need to. At this, you can hug the wall, you can step further back, or you can peek very quickly and then go back without having to stay here for so long. You stay here way too long. Let's just ignore that mistake. It's a very small mistake. It's just very risky. Even though, in this rank, Widowmakers like this, their aim is very inconsistent. But just you don't want to rely on enemy not getting lucky or having bad mechanics. You don't want to rely on that. You want to rely on your positioning is so good that you consistently can rank up, or else you're gonna get stuck in gold or platinum because, again, your positioning is bad. Still fine. But then you're going to do this. You can see there's a Winston here. If you just play halfway attention, I don't think your game sense is that good, because, again, you have very slow reaction time. It looks like you in general, you move and think very slowly and react very slowly. But this Winston here should be, again, they have a dive tank. You haven't pressed tab, so you don't even know their entire team composition. You also know there's a tracer behind you, and you know that this Ryan is here. Your Kree died not too long ago. So the enemy team is most likely going to be very aggressive, and it's kind of your job as now as Ana to, again, keep your team alive, try to make sure they don't get any more frags. And one of the good ways to do that is to slow down their tanks. That's why we have Sleep Dot. Sleep Dot is incredibly good, especially even in your rank. You have good enough aim to do this, to sleep this big guy or this big guy, stopping one of their tanks from pushing. For example, stopping the Ryan mid a pin or mid pushing your Orisa, or the Winston dives in and you can sleep him, right? All of those can stop them from being efficient at killing, at pushing your team, and give time for your McCree to get back, and get time, buy time for your team to build ultimate, for you to build your ultimate, for your team to build ultimate, in general, for your team to pop off, get some frags. It also disorientates Ryan, makes him take a lot of damage and a lot of pressure and so on, right? So what you don't want to do here is waste the one sleep dot that you have, which you're going to do in a particularly blind. You can't see anything. You actually can't. 2 tanks are blocking. This guy fired a fire strike. It's way too far. He's probably going to shield immediately after, right? So the chance of you landing this is so low. You want to go for only safe sleep dots, especially with your aim, with your mechanics. Go for tanks, aim for tanks. Only use it when you get pushed by them and so on, right? So that you can guarantee and maximize your hit rate with that. Here you're gonna get guys are going to dive. You to a certain extent manage to control this, but then you start doing stuff like this. You start moving very much out on the point, and you're going to start losing control of what's going on around you because of how your movement with your camera is, right? You can see you're getting surrounded. It's very chaotic. You don't really know 100% what's going on around you. You just try to control it, and you take a lot of pressure from the positioning that you're going to take. You're going to take this 1v1 instead, again, of helping your Orisa. This is where it's fine. There's a tracer. You shoot a little bit at her, but the time that you are gone from your main group is far too long here, and now you guys are going to get pushed back, you guys are going to get weak and so on. You try to do fancy shots and fast nades and so on. So if you look at your positioning there, essentially what happened was your main group is up here. I'm not going to spawn in everyone, right? Your main group is up here. The Widow is somewhere back here. She's actually far back over here, but fine, just to keep everything in perspective, right? Now you're going to start here. You're going to keep in LOS of the Widowmaker. Right, you're going to keep in LS of her and heal and do whatever. As soon as your team get pushed, you're going to back off, and you're going to stay on the point where your Orisa is going to be here. Reinhardt is going to chance the Orisa and fight her, right? or well, the Winston or whatever, there's going to be a huge team fight. You're going to be in the midst of this team fight, right? Doing that, everything is, is big. There's a lot of stuff moving around you. It's very confusing to know what's going on. If anything goes on in your backline, which it does, anything goes on over here, you can't really see it. Everything is very chaotic, and you risk getting killed, right? Because one, the Ryan is going to charge onto the point. It's going to be Winston here. The Widowmaker is going to move here, which is very logic, right? Because everyone is pushing. Everyone is pushing in here, right? So it's very logical that everyone is going to follow, and that, changes stuff. In the beginning of the game, when they can't push, when, they're outside of these walls, they only have line of sights really here, if they have high ground, because they can shoot over this wall. And they have, LOS here, right? They have LOS here to a certain extent, and up here, all the way over here. Then again circled in by this one, right? That's essentially where they have LOS. They don't have LOS behind here, right? So they only really have LOS, up here, up these like lane streets. Everything behind here is safe. Everything behind here is safe, except here. You're gonna stand a lot. You're gonna move a lot out into here, which puts you in LOS. Your tanks are gonna stay there. It's fairly fine. They can survive to a certain extent. But you're gonna position there, and even if your DPS have bad positioning, it doesn't mean you should have. You can position yourself further over here, or just, again, hug here, poke, peek all the time. The further back you stand, and the closer shield is here, the easier it's going to be to shoot over that shield. Remember that. The further you go away from it, the easier it's going to be to shoot over it, the less of an angle they need. And especially when the fight breaks out on the point, you're going to stay on the point. And the rest of the enemy team, as I said, push up, because logically not their tank is pushing, so they're going to push as well. You standing here, again, as I said, everything is going to be chaos. It's going to be very clustered. There's already not that many of your team that's going to be staying together. I expect that's just how Silver is as a rank. But if you position yourself further back here, right, all of a sudden it becomes, you get walls to hug. You have an easy access route to health pack if you need. You have an easy, essentially, fall back way if your team also wants to fall back, right? So, and on top of that, it's easier for you to be here. From here, you can see, most of the stuff, right? You can see out here, right? You can even see in here, right? Without having to really turn around, you have a big overview. When you stay up close here, right? You all of a sudden, you can only see, here, right? Here, right? And they can also see you, of course. If you can see them, they can see you, logically enough. And a majority of this is enemy, right? Your allies are not here. So it doesn't matter that you can see this. It's just enemies and more enemies that's going to be here, right? So you don't gain anything for standing out here. You just risk yourself dying, and you can't see everything that's behind here. You can't see any of it, which leaves you in a very bad position. You gain very little intel. You don't know what's going on. You can't see people. You can't react to stuff. You're very easy to get picked off, right? And you stay here, get hit by the Widow shot, so you have to run away, take a health pack, you fight a Tracer, then you go back, and now your main tank is dead, and so on, right? Which loses you that fight. You can't sustain your team for those positioning, right? So you want to position yourself, you want to do it way slower, more back, better positioning, where you get more overview, and where you don't risk getting shot. At the same, you're going to take this positioning immediately, even though they have a Tracer, right? No, they have a Widow. So the Widow who can peek on the high ground above you, it can easily, get a frag, right? You're gonna stay far back here, all the way over there, which grants you nothing. You have no way of escaping. You can run into here and very slowly descend down into the hotel if you want to, but even that takes a lot of time. You can't really drop here, and then you're gonna have to run all the way around, right? So even that escape route is really difficult. You can, if you drop straight down, but then there will be a huge time where you are still in line of sight of a potential Widowmaker from this high ground, right? She's still going to have you in line of sight, or whoever really decides to shoot at you, they can also, send fire strike from main, or they can shoot with a Kree or whatever, right? It's very easy to shoot at you. If you stay here while you're on the low ground, and if you're, a Tracer can go on low ground and attack you, that's fine. At least they can't see you. You have plenty of cover. You can peek here if you want to, and then you can easily peek back. You can hug this wall here. And again, if your team get pushed, you want to think about reaction, right? You hold here with the Orisa. The Orisa holds here, right? Bad positioning or whatever. They hold this far forward. She get pushed. She falls back. you can also then just fall back. So you can continually keep this, perfect like distance between you, your tanks, and you, and continue to keep your positioning. If you up here and the Rissa all of a sudden fall back, then either you have to drop, risk dying because the Rhine is pushing, right? Drop here and run around, and then there's no healing, so she will die, right? Or you will stay up here and try to heal from there, and then, she's gonna get pushed more and more back. You're gonna have more and more difficult time to drop, and if you drop here, again, enemy team, and so on, so on, so on, right? So if you stay here, you also have the opportunity to constantly fall back, to constantly get safe, to constantly keep this good positioning, and kite with your team, right? With your rifle, with your distance, keep yourself in a favorable distance for engaging and de-engaging. This is very common to see in low elo, hard scoping it's called. And while it's fine, you can see that you're doing something really stupid, that you are constantly shooting stuff that doesn't need health, and you're not reloading, right? As soon as everything became full health, you should have stopped shooting and start reloading so that you can have more bullets in case, like now, right? You're 8 bullets left, reload now, get those 6 bullets back, and all of a sudden you can, you're ready for a new entourage of shots and damage coming for your team. Or if you want to fight the enemy team, right? You're going to continue to hot scope, and especially when they have snipers or anything, right? Hot scoping, incredibly easy to kill you, especially since you have a bad position as well. So it's incredibly easy for the Widowmaker to just peek this window up here. Peek that, kill you immediately, and then you're dead, right? Then there's really no heals for your team. Your team is going to lose this choke and lose this part of the, at least this choke here. Because your team got a really good, actually a really fucking good re-engage. So they got to contest the payload this early, which buys you guys a lot of time. That's really good. So if you die here, that's gonna be huge. Of course, the higher ground does keep you safe from the tracer, at least to a certain extent. But now stuff like this happens, right? The Widow is peeking you, and you're spending a lot of resources mentally and stuff like that, and in general also abilities to aim up here and focus on shooting stuff. And all this, while there's a team fight going on right in front of you down here, you don't give nano to any of your team members so they can survive the attack. You're not healing anyone, you're not doing anything. You waste a lot of your abilities. You got shots, you had to waste your nade. That could be huge now to deny this trance by anti-healing. You send a sleep dart up, which you slowed the Widow down, but you didn't heal your team or anything. And you can't sleep any tanks or anything now. And you don't nano, you're just standing here trying to dodge shots, and you're very lucky that she doesn't hit you anytime. And as you can see, your team lost this team fight, and you might think, well, there's nothing I could do there. If you could anti-nade, if you had nanoed, if you could have healed, or if you could have, when your team didn't need healing, could have healed and then swapped in between healing and DPS, you could have done so much more for your team. You could have slept a tank or a DPS, or most likely tanks just with your aim and stuff like that. As a nano boost, and you could have done so much impact, land a big anti-nade, which is a lot of damage, and also anti-heal, so no one can get healing for a period of time, which allows so much kill potential for your team. But again, you were busy standing up there, 1v1 the Widow, hard scoping, not really doing a lot, right? This is also where, you see hard scoping really coming into effect. You hard scope for a little bit, and all of a sudden you lose majority of your HP, right? Which is not really effective. This is again where you want to pop nano on your Reaper or whatever, really, just something, so that they have the defensive potential to contest the point. They can brawl easier on the point. I would give it to the Reaper or the Brigitte here, just because it's going to be so, close combat and intense. And also giving them higher defensive capabilities so that they can survive for longer periods of time, right? So it's harder to kill them, right? Stuff like here, if you had nanoed, could be, a massacre for this Reaper. You're very lucky that your team is popping off and fragging out very hard, because you're not helping them a lot, right? And you're not using your abilities really to help the team. You're more or less using them a lot of time to just sustain yourself or to do, fancy stuff. Again, a biotic grenade that was not needed. It's fine that you used it, because you will have it back for next fight. I'm just pointing it out a little bit due to the fact that you don't want to waste them. You want to think, was that really necessary? Did I need to use it here? Or anything like that. Sleeping the Rhine was actually really good. And this is why I said, if you could just continually do this every single team fight all the time, if you could stay on that low ground, hug walls, stay close to your team and so on, anti the Rhine would be huge. Sleeping the Rhine would be huge, because now you can land a fat anti on him if you want to. And, again, slow down his push even more. You're gonna miss this nade. And I don't know how you miss a biotic grenade like that, but you did. Again, you can go for safer shots. I think you tried to hit the Mercy or something like that. If you had splashed the Ryan, you could most likely also hit the Mercy if you wanted to. This is you taking a 1v1. It's fine. The enemy team is getting pushed back and so on. Just, again, be careful that you don't die. Make sure that, again, if it's not worth trading your support for one of their DPS. Especially, again, you're supposed to be, you know, the one factor to carry. And if you die, it's going to be a very big problem. This is, again, bad positioning. You're risking your life to sleep Ascend. And the worst part is you didn't even need to go up to him. Like, this is fine distance. You slept them? Cool. Back off and heal. But you walk up to him to sleep him. You don't even melee. Like, there's no reason to walk up here, right? Again, a lot of this can be fixed by you just asking, like, why did I do this? And you survived with so little HP that it doesn't count. Like, you died. Essentially, you died. You're very lucky that your team is fragging. And notice that you still haven't used Nano Boost. You used your Orisa ultimate before you used Nano Boost, and you can build like 2-3 Nano Boosts in one Orisa ult. Easy, right? So you still haven't used your ultimate to win team fights. You've been really relying on your team winning the team fights for you, and they're doing a very good job at exactly doing that. Again, positioning, while you're up here, you're trading some shots, but now you're getting pushed very hard. You have already used your biotic grenade, so you can't really sustain yourself. You have sleep dart, that's barely something you can maybe sleep one of the tanks with. That's if the tracer does not attack you, right? So the position, you got to ask, did I need to push that far up, right? Is there anything beneficial with me poking? I have Nano Boost, right? Am I actually doing anything with my shots? Or am I just feeding them support ultimate shots? I'm not even, you don't hit anything, but that's fine. But even if you hit anything, would that have really made a difference, right? For the positioning. And you're very lucky that you didn't get hit by a shatter, right? And again, now you're going to give that first Nano Boost, which is fine. I would have given it to the Reaper, but that's my point of view. The Nano Boost is fine. At least it keeps your Orisa sustained and so on. And again, this is, at least, even though you're hard scoping, at least this is a decent positioning. You're keeping the distance. And then you start, doing your fancy offensive shit, going for kills and so on. The fight is won, so it's completely fine in theory, at least, to go for kills, as long as you try to make sure that, none of your team members die, since they will respawn faster than you. DPS nature, I can see that's, you're going for a very aggressive playstyle, but, stuff like this, right? You're going for some snipes, you don't have your ultimate, just please make sure that you don't run up to stuff just to run up to stuff. Make sure that you do it with a purpose. There's a reason behind pushing up stuff. And if so, make sure that you have time to disengage very heavily so you can get into that favorable Ana position, a position where you can see your entire team and not be further. You're in front of your tanks right now, right? Make sure you can shoot through your allies now with your shots. Being further back with a better position, so you're better to disengage, you're better positioned, you're harder to get to, you will take less damage, and you don't have to waste your biotic grenades on pocketing yourself. You can rather use the biotic grenade to offensively heal your team or to anti-nade the enemy team, right? That would be so much better. Now you're gonna go on a little bit of a DPS spree here. Again, don't know how you missed this nade. Just aim for the ground and it will splash. It looks like you tried to body shot. Normally just throw it at the ground and it will hit. Just like when you heal yourself, just do that to the enemy team, right? Again, you're far up here with the main group. You don't have to be, you can be way further back. And that's really, a repeating mistake that you go forward, jumping in front of the shield, right? Like, you're not gaining anything from standing in that angle. Risking taking damage, all that stuff. Wasted your biotic grenade for no real reason. Very nice sleep dart again, if you could continually to use those. This is actually something to very much highlight. You're trying to push up here. I'm expecting it's to anti-nade the Rhine. This is fine. This is actually a viable strategy if they didn't have this. A very viable strategy is that if a team fight has already erupted and it's like very close combat, the Rhine is swinging and so on, and you also need healing, for example, so you want to nade yourself, and you're very close to the fight, it might be around the corner, whatever, that you run into the or very close to a team, and then you throw the nade so it hits you, whoever is in front of you, of your tanks or DPS or whatever, and also the enemy Rhine or whatever that swing his hammer, so that you get like healing yourself, healing your ally, and anti-ing an enemy team, because normally you have to choose in between one of the three, either healing yourself, healing your allies, or anti-ing, right? That's like a huge one. But right now, as I say, you're frontlining the enemy team, so there's no, you're not gaining too much. Essentially, your Orisa is far back here, the Rhine is here, so there's this space in between where normally, you know, damage output would be coming, right? There's this space here in between her shield, his shield, and then there's this space where normally, you know, spam, like general damage is coming through, and so on, and you stand in that, right? Compared to if the Rhine and the Orisa is kind of like, you know, butting heads, and you go close to that, right? You're running in front of your tank. You don't run in front of your tanks as a support. You rarely do it as a DPS. Stay behind your shield. Stay behind close to corners so that you can run away, right? Because now you're weak, so what you need to disengage. You're very weak. You're very easy to kill if they have been coordinated and your Reaper hasn't carried you. You know, it would be very easy for them to frag out on you, right? Fairly decent pocket. Again, way too close to a Junkrat. You survive with like very small amounts of HP. If he had been halfway decent, he could have killed you here. But you survive with very slight HP, right? 56 after you use your nade on yourself. So again, continually keep that distance, stop taking so much damage, and that's really all. Improving your accuracy and stop not having to hard scope is great. Would help you a lot. Not wasting your sleep out would help you a lot, but especially your positioning, that you keep that ideal positioning not far away, like not too far away, but at like a decently comfort distance where it takes some effort for the enemy team to get to you. They kind of have to walk past a lot of people. They can't easily hit you. You're out of line of sight of snipers, other DPS that can hit you from range, right? All that good stuff is what makes Ana very great, very viable, that you can keep the distance compared to a Mercer who has to be much closer to her front line armor, but that has to be much closer to people when healing, right? Which can set them off to being, you know, weakened and killed very easily. Now, I hope that you guys like this. Do you want to see more coaching? I would love to hear. And as always, if you want to submit your own videos, you can do that on a Discord server under help. Just link your YouTube thing. And if you're interested in private coaching, as I said, hit me up on a Discord on Twitter, and we can set up that €40 one. Now, as always, guys, I hope you have a lovely gaming experience. As always, guys, you guys stay positive and keep the enemy in your crosshairs.